There's no denying that both pieces of Nomad's Chupacabra gear are difficult to obtain. In my opinion, getting double kills with Rejack was much more difficult than getting double kills with the Hive. If you're looking for Rejack help, I'll link my video on that in the outro as well as in the description. Today's topic at hand is with the Hive. I'll be covering how to get general kills with the Hive, 6 kills in one match for the hero armor, as well as getting double kills, which is the primary focus. I need to note that Treyarch mucked up the Chupacabra challenges the last hotfix they did. The Chupacabra body used to be getting double kills with Rejack, as you can see here. Now, however, the Chupacabra body is getting double kills with the Hive, and the Rejack challenge moved to the Chupacabra head. Confusing, I know. So the body challenge. Rapidly kill 2 enemies with the Hive 3 times. So before we get into this strategy, let me give you a review of the Hive. An indirect offensive weapon, the Hive allows you to paint highly lethal proximity traps that kill an enemy player that gets too close. I don't think anyone knows what Hive stands for, but it's abbreviated, so clearly it stands for something. If you've ever played GoldenEye on the Nintendo 64, the Hive is basically a proximity mine. When I read that people say that the Hive's specialist weapon is weak or underpowered, I have to question these statements. The proximity mines were one of the most overpowered things about GoldenEye. I remember when I was in high school and we played GoldenEye all the time. People would outright ban them for their cheatiness factor. Because you can lay down all the pods from your Hive without actually needing to see any enemies before using it, it's fairly easy to get 100% usage from your specialist ability, something not all of the other offensive weapons can claim. The Hive works best when you use it to mine doorways, ceilings over entrances, ledge approaches, and the space around objectives. Anywhere an enemy must move through or is very likely to approach is a good candidate, but we'll talk about Hive placement in just a bit. Let me discuss a few things you may or may not have known about the Hive. First of all, enemies or score streaks can trigger a pod from the Hive. In fact, it kills most score streaks in 2 pods. The only streaks that took more than that were the Power Core and the GI unit, but you'll hardly ever see those anyway. I wasn't able to shoot it high enough to hit high-flying streaks, such as the Wraith or the Mothership. The in-game description of Hive states that, quote, pods will stick to any surface in the world. And this is almost true. I wasn't able to stick the pod to the robot in Safeguard. It hits the robot, but then it falls to the ground at its feet. That's only for when you escort the robot, by the way. If you shoot at the enemy robot, it'll just damage it. So the pods must land and settle for a moment before they can be triggered by the enemies. Oddly, I could not find a definitive time for these to trigger. It really seems to vary. So here's 2 examples. These are timed from the moment I get the X hit marker for scoring a direct hit until right when the kill feed starts to show up. The first time it took 1.7 seconds to trigger the death. Against the same guy with the same perks, here it takes 2.9 seconds to trigger. I definitely got 1.7 seconds to show up more often than not, so I'll just say that 1.7 seconds is the norm. So you have at least that long to escape the pod or you'll die. So how exactly does one escape a pod? Well, there's a few sure ways and a few questionable methods. A trophy system or an EMP grenade will definitely allow you to escape a pod. However, deploying one fast enough after triggering a pod is risky business. It's better to use these 2 tacticals for destroying non-triggered pods. If you just so happen to have Prophet's glitch ability at your disposal after triggering a Hive, you're in luck. Glitching within that 1.7 time frame will leave the Hive where you previously were standing, allowing you to survive. Likewise, Firebreak's Heatwave ability will incinerate a triggered pod before it devours you. Not only this, if untriggered pods are in the vicinity, they'll also be vaporized. So how about Ruin's Overdrive ability? Will Crackhead Pro allow you to outrun a triggered Hive? The answer to this is yes and no. On one occasion, it worked, and Overdrive outran the Hive after triggering it. But in my testing, this only happened once. Every other attempt had the person in Overdrive dying, unable to outrun it. One popular myth is that the Hardwired perk allows you to avoid tripping them altogether, just like shock chargers and trip mines. Or I've even heard people say that Hardwired allows you to delay the triggering. In this test here, the guy on the left has the Hardwired perk, and the guy on the right does not. As you can see, both guys trigger the pods at approximately the exact same distance, and this also gives you a fairly good visual of the radius required to trigger the pods. So Hardwired does not help at all when it comes to avoiding or triggering the Hive. A lot of people also mention that you can successfully slide through Hive pods if you time it right. In all my testing, I could not replicate this. I tried every method I could think of to run through a pod, but it always resulted in triggering and the swarm chasing me down and eating my dick off. I once saw a guy punch a Hive off his face, but I couldn't replicate this either. I directly stuck him with the pod and he punched with bare fists and destroyed it. Of course, only to trigger another one and die. I chalk this up to extreme luck. Despite the pods of the Hive being extremely small, they glow a yellow glow, which is fairly noticeable. If you use the Engineer perk, not only will they be highlighted a hot orange color, but you'll also be able to see them through walls with ease. One thing to note that is extremely important is the fact that the pods will last until you die. That means if you place them down and survive the entire match, they'll remain active until someone destroys them or they trigger and kill someone. Note that you can only have 5 out at a time. If you try and shoot more than 5, they'll start disappearing. One tidbit that will help immensely is the fact that they literally will remain active until you respawn. With that said, if you've actively deployed some pods, watch the kill cam all the way into the end. Do not skip it. Let me show you how valuable this can be. In this example, my friend here skips the kill cam as soon as it prompts him upon dying. From when the kill feed first starts to show his death until the last pod disappears is 2.367 seconds. Now in this example, I instructed him to watch the kill cam in full. With the exact same measurement techniques, the pod persists all the way up to 7.017 seconds. That's nearly 5 seconds longer. A lot can happen in that time frame, including double kills with your deployed Hive pods. Never skip the kill cam when you have active pods out. Briefly, let me show you how long it takes to earn the Hive. Since it is a specialist weapon, the charge time is extremely slow. In Safeguard with the overclock perk, which allows you to earn your weapon faster, it takes a whopping 4 minutes and 34 seconds. Safeguard rounds are only 5 minutes, remember. Without overclock, it took well over 8 minutes. I highly suggest running the overclock perk when doing any Hive related challenges. As with other specialist abilities and weapons, different game modes produce different charge times. In free-for-all mode without overclock, it takes 5 minutes to earn. With overclock, it's reduced to the fastest charge time of any game mode at 3 minutes and 34 seconds. We'll discuss game modes in more detail when I get to the tactics. Lastly, let's talk about the window of opportunity you have to achieve a double kill with the Hive. The medal you're out to achieve is called Swarm. It only pops up when you achieve a rapid double kill when using the Hive. Be warned that sometimes it takes a long time to pop up, but as long as you see it pop up, you can guarantee a point will register towards the challenge. I had a lot of trouble testing for an approximate time for 2 reasons. First, when I actually got Hive double kills in-game and not in a private match, they typically happen extremely fast, usually within 1 second from each other. Second of all, as I mentioned earlier, the triggering time of the pod seems to vary. After about 15 tests, I did come to 2 solid conclusions. First, from the time of the initial kill in the kill feed until the second kill, which was 4.783 seconds, I was not rewarded a Swarm medal. So we know for sure it's shorter than 4.783 seconds. The best I could do to find the approximate time was 3.2 seconds. And this did give me a Swarm medal. If I had to guess, I'd say you have about 3.5 seconds or less to get a double kill. I doubt it extends all the way up to 4 seconds, but we'll say what we know for certain, which is 3.2 seconds or less. Now then, the tactics. There's 2 ways to deploy the Hive, depending on what your goal is. If your goal is going for the hero armor, which requires you to get 6 Hive kills in 1 game, or if you're going for the single kills in an attempt to get to the double kill challenges, then treat the Hive as it was intended, which is a proximity mine device. If your goal is to get double kills, you want to spray the Hive as fast as you can, but at the appropriate time. So first, let's cover the hero challenge or single kills. So what I meant by using this as a proximity mine device is to take your time and tactically deploy your pods. Try to conceal them, for example, just to the side of doorways or on top of the doorway, or even on stairways leading up, so that the enemy won't see them until the last second. So many times I've had people come and ask me for help, only to see that they've been deploying the pods in the wrong fashion. The wrong way to deploy the Hive pods is by using the double kill method, which again is to spray the shit out of the weapon and place them in clusters. If you want single kills, space them out far apart. By spraying the Hive all willy-nilly, you're likely going to bunch them up. This is what happens when you put the pods too close together. One person will trigger multiple ones and you'll ultimately end up wasting them. One pod can only achieve 1 kill. Let me repeat that. It's impossible for a single pod to get a double kill. You have 5 pods per use. You should at least be getting 3 kills out of your 5 when using this method. Another issue I routinely see is that people are not patient. They'll deploy their 5 hives and then rush into the fray and end up dying. Again, this is a wasted hive. When you're going for either 6 hive kills in a game or single kills, you must play to the weapon's strengths. Once you deploy all 5 pods, stay still. Draw people in by firing an unsilenced weapon. Use perks that allow you to see people coming in case they avoid or destroy your pods, such as Sixth Sense, Awareness, or you could even use shock charges to notify you of their presence. The last thing you want to do is die with deployed pods still out. Again, your goal is to at least get 3 kills per 5 deployed. As for game modes for this method, you have 2 viable choices, free-for-all or hardpoint. You could technically do any game mode for single kills, which is not the case for double kills, as you'll see in just a second. If you're going for the 6 kills in one game for the hero armor, do not play Domination. In Domination, for some reason or another, each round counts as a game, so you have to get 6 kills in a single round. It's possible, but not likely. As we all know, the spawns in free-for-all are pretty chaotic. This makes the action jam-packed, and a great place to get kills with the Hive. Not to mention that free-for-all also offers the fastest charge rate for the Hive, just as I discussed earlier. In a decent game, I can usually achieve the Hive 3 times. So if I get 2 kills per use, that's the hero challenge in one game. You basically want to set up shop in a certain location on the map. For instance, in a building with multiple entry points, deploy all 5 hives, trying your best to conceal them. Then, shoot an unsilenced weapon to attract radar junkies. You know there's at least a few in every lobby that desperately seek out those red dots that have just pinged on the radar. When someone destroys or triggers one of the hives, watch that entry point. The other active pods will guard every other flank angle for you. In hardpoint, if you know the rotations, you can simply go to the upcoming hardpoint and put pods at all entry points. Again though, stay put. Don't rush off to die, let the pods do the work for you. Remember to always watch the kill cam in full when you've died after deploying hives. Every hive kill counts, and letting them persist even after you've died is extremely beneficial. One common issue is enemies easily seeing and destroying your deployed hive pods, even without the engineer perk. There's a remedy to this though. It works best in hardpoint as opposed to free-for-all. The answer is smoke. Equip 2 smoke grenades along with scavenger, and then use the smoke to cover your pods. For instance, again, if you know the upcoming hardpoint rotations, deploy all your pods as soon as the enemies start coming towards it. Then, deploy the smoke to cover them. Unless they have the engineer perk on, they'll be completely oblivious to the pods and hopefully trigger them. If you've unlocked it, scavenger is essential. Sometimes there can be a ton of scavenger packs on the ground, resulting in you being able to throw an unlimited amount of smoke. So now let's talk about getting double kills. This is a whole nother ballgame. You have to treat the hive like a completely different weapon, but there's tactics involved as well. Essentially, you should treat the hive like a grenade launcher rather than a tactical defensive weapon. You obviously don't want to take your time and tactically deploy the pods as we did for single kills. While it's true that you could potentially get a double kill with a bit of luck using the single kill method, it's not very practical. The idea here is to find a group of 2 or more enemies and then spray as fast as you can before the element of surprise is lost. It's not an every game occurrence where you find 2 or more enemies oblivious to your presence though, so we have to make these encounters happen ourselves. If you're familiar with the American Civil War or you know some military strategic maneuvers, you may be familiar with the flanking maneuver. The goal was to move your forces around to the enemy's flank, either the side or from behind. This was useful since a force's offensive power is concentrated in its front. Therefore, attacking from the side or from behind is where they'll be the least likely to concentrate an offense from. And that's exactly what we need to achieve for a double kill. And there's one mode in particular that offers an excellent opportunity for this: Safeguard. Whether you're escorting the robot deep into enemy territory, or whether the enemy robot is entering your own spawn, the opportunity to flank your opponent is there. In my opinion, when the enemy is marching into your own spawn is the ideal time to attempt your flanking maneuver. They'll be so focused on rushing from their own spawn back to the robot and into yours that they'll be caught unaware if you maneuver yourself around the map and up from behind. To help you achieve this, I highly advise you to make 2 classes. The first class is whatever you find yourself doing the best with. Set up your best class that you can achieve the most kills to get the hive fastest. Once you're close to getting the hive, or you've already got it, switch to the second class, which will be the flanking stealth setup. Now feel free to modify this as you see fit, but I recommend Ghost for perk 1, Scavenger for perk 2, Dead Silence and Blast Suppressor for perk 3. Then 2 smoke grenades for your tacticals and a suppressor for your weapon. That should leave you with 1 point, which you can do as you please. I prefer Quick Draw myself. Once this class is equipped, make your way around the outskirts of the map. By no means do you ever want to take a direct route. Use all the cover you can on the far edges of the map and stealthily maneuver yourself to the enemy's flank. As long as you're moving, Ghost will keep you off the radar, while Blast Suppressor and Dead Silence will mute your approach. And should you encounter an enemy, your silence weapon should be able to dispatch them without much notice. You can also utilize your smoke grenades to go from one spot to another unnoticed. Once you make it behind or to the side of the preoccupied forces, spray your hive wildly as fast as you can, but with enough attention to land 2 of your pods near 2 separate enemies so they both trigger. If you're deep in the enemy spawn with no one in sight, deploy your pods, then cover them with smoke and fire your weapon to draw attention. You can also use these same tactics in Domination. Or if you see a majority of the enemy team die, quickly pull out your hive and fire the pods towards the choke points near the enemy spawn. For example, if you hold your home flag as well as the B flag, the enemies will likely spawn on their flag. There's only so many routes the enemy can take. so fire your hives on those specific areas they'll be advancing from and block them. Don't forget about ground war either. Having 6 enemies to target is nice, but having 9 is ideal. Play Safeguard or Domination in Ground War, and use the flanking maneuver tactic to wrap around enemy lines. I can almost guarantee you're going to find 2 or more enemies with their backs to you, just awaiting a wild spray from your hive for an easy double kill. Again, don't forget to watch the entire kill cam, should you fall while deep behind enemy lines. You never know when you'll get a double kill, even after you're dead. And that, as they say, is that. Many people consider the Hive to be a worthless specialist weapon, especially compared to all the others. But it's far from worthless. It's almost a guaranteed kill if you shoot them in spots where people don't typically look. Not only that, it's also the easiest specialist weapon to use. You don't need good aim, and you don't have to get within range of someone to use it. Depending on your desired goal, you can either use it for single kills by tactically spacing out your pods and remaining motionless while they do all the work. Or you can attempt to get the rapid double kill by stealthily flanking your enemies and spraying it wildly as fast as you can in an attempt to get 2 enemies within the 3.2 second window of opportunity. Utilize smoke grenades in either scenario to cover your pods, making them virtually invisible and even more lethal. Always remember to watch your kill cam in full, as the pods persist for an extended duration even after you've bit the dust. Ground War, Safeguard, Hardpoint, and even Free-for-All are all modes which will accomplish either goal you set out to achieve. The Hive is unique in that it can watch every flank angle for you with 5 tactically placed pods. Who needs a machine gun arm that shoots bullets when you can have 5 mini proximity mines covering your flank at all times? Your gun is for killing, and your Hive is for defending. Live for the swarm, flank your enemies, and get those double kills.